Kiwi company Hale Animal Health is aiming to become among the first in the world to register cannabis medicines for pets. It's taking a science-backed approach and has just raised $2 million to help fund the first of 3 pivotal studies it needs to register the medicines. Joining me now is founder and CEO Leila Da Costa. Leila, you've just raised $2 million in your first seed round. How did that process go?
It was a really enjoyable process actually. Working with the team at WNT Ventures was brilliant. So they're a bunch of very smart people, very down to earth, and just a pleasure to work with. So together we dived into the details and got a lot of external consultants coming on board. Looking at market validation and things like our IP position and things like that. So it was actually a really helpful process for us as a business to kind of get a lot of that external validation and data and things throughout that process as well.
Some founders find the process quite daunting, but you sound fairly relaxed about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say it was an easy process. Like, it definitely has had its ups and downs. We had a lot of no's before we got the yes from WNT. So there's definitely an element of resilience needed there to kind of keep you going and get there. But yeah, all in all, I think on balance, it was an enjoyable experience.
So had you had previous investors?
We had previously entered into a strategic partnership with one of New Zealand's larger medicinal cannabis companies, and we worked together with them for a couple of years, and they invested in the business. We did both decide to, after a couple of years, to part ways. We were sort of needed to focus on our strategies independently, and we were sort of slowing each other down a little bit. So we're still on great terms and still collaborate, and work together from time to time, and they sometimes have supplied us R&D materials and things like that. So we did have some investment from that partnership, which got us going. We then also had some investment from a high net worth, and then more recently this seed round.
So that high net worth converts into this round, the convertible notes?
That's right. That was on a convertible note, yes, and that will convert as part of closing this round out.
Oh, great. And obviously, what are you going to use the money for?
Yeah, so it's a really exciting time because we just completed a clinical trial just before Christmas, and we got really good results from that. Some of the feedback we got from the dog owners was honestly so heartwarming. They were commenting about, my dog's off running down the back of the farm and chasing rabbits and playing with his toys, and I haven't seen him he's acting like a puppy. I haven't seen him like this in years. And on top of that, we got a lot of really great data around the pharmacokinetics of the product, and also the efficacy data around how our product performs against one of the gold standard non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, which is commonly prescribed at the moment. And so, sort of armed with all of that data, we now go forward into the first of our pivotal clinical trials, the dose determination study. And that's the first of 3 studies that will generate the data we need to submit to the regulatory authorities for registration and approval of this product.
So is the registration as tough as it is for medicinal cannabis for humans?
The regulations are very different with human products, medicinal cannabis products, and with animal medicinal cannabis products. In the human space, they have an option to sell those products under what's called a Section 29 or an unapproved drug, which means that whilst those products don't have any label claims attached to them, they are not required to go through clinical trials and not required to be registered. If the decision is made to register a medicinal cannabis product for humans, the process to go through clinical trials for a human product and register as a prescription medication or as a medication, that is a lot of a longer process with that costs a lot more money than it does to register in the animal health space. So they don't have to register, but if they choose to register because they would like to have specific label claims and things like that, then they will have a lot more clinical trials with a lot more budget required and a lot more time required than what we have in order to get to a registered product.
So how important is the science-backed data to what you're doing in terms of, selling it to someone, a vet, I presume?
Yeah, so super important. So in all of the work, and I've spent a lot of time in the past few years speaking with vets here in New Zealand and in Australia, and also as part of the market validation work that WNT did with their due diligence, we brought on board a consultant based in the US who conducted market validation for us, and that involved speaking with a number of vets, distributors of vet products, veterinary practices, things like that. And really the kind of one resounding thing that came from all of those discussions is that vets are driven by the science and the data. So as long as they can see that the data is there to support the efficacy and to support the safety and to support the use cases and the dosage and all of that important information, then they are all there for it and is a very welcome addition to their veterinary toolkit.
So have you sold any products to date, or what's the timeline for that?
We haven't sold any medicinal cannabis products to date. We're unable to do that legally until they're registered as a veterinary medicine. The timeline looks a bit like we have that clinical trial that I mentioned starting later this year. We're in the pre-study activities for that at the moment, getting all of our ducks in a row and recruiting dogs and things. That study will happen later this year. Next year we have another 2 studies that need to happen, and then upon completion of those 2 studies we will then be in a position to register or to submit for registration.
So you're hoping to sell in 2026? Or?
Yeah. First half of 2026.
And you're not selling direct to consumers, it's definitely through vets?
That's right, yeah. It will be a prescription only medication, so you will need a prescription from your vet for the product. And so, yeah, the go-to-market channel is via distributors that will distribute to vet clinics who will then prescribe.
So you've got competitors out there, others looking at this for, cats and dogs. What's different about yours? What's your unique selling proposition?
Yeah, well, our main competitors at the moment are products like non-steroidal anti-inflammatories and products like opioids. Those are the go-to prescription medications for treating pain at the moment. That we are aware of some others that are looking to develop something similar in terms of a medicinal cannabis product, registered veterinary medicine. Our product is quite different in terms of the formulation. So we have a unique combination of cannabinoids in a specific therapeutic ratio. We've done a lot of work on the bioavailability of those cannabinoids and making sure that the absorption into the animal's body is at its best and most efficient, and that those cannabinoids are going to where they need to go in order to work.
So the formulation matters in terms of efficacy?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep. Our formulation is specifically designed for dogs, for their endocannabinoid system, which is actually quite different to a human's endocannabinoid system, even though it is made up of CB1 and CB2 receptors, just like the human endocannabinoid system is. There are some key differences to be aware of, and key differences with the pharmacokinetics of how those cannabinoids are absorbed by the body, how they're metabolized by the body, and how they work. And so a lot of considerations around what cannabinoids and at what ratio and at what dosage and strength and things like that are really important.
So you're starting with dogs. Are you going to move into cats next, or what's the plan?
Yeah, the plan is to register this first product for dogs. We will then likely conduct some additional studies to support the use of the product in cats as well. It will be suitable for use in cats, but likely with a different dosing regime and different considerations around cats, again, have an endocannabinoid system, but differs again to dogs. So there will be some additional data and things we'll need to look at there, mainly around the dosing of the product and also depending on what it is you're treating as well will come into it.
How did you get into this?
Well, my background is actually in advertising and marketing and branding. But really what got me into this was my own dog, Sassy. I refer to her as my first baby, but she was born with a tail. And she was tan, black and white and furry. So when my husband and I decided to move to the UK, we decided to take Sassy with us. So we got her a little pet passport and we all moved over to London together. We lived there for 6 years, and during that time she got older and she developed some of the issues that the majority of older dogs do, and specifically around arthritis and joint problems. But she had also, unfortunately, developed a liver condition as well, and so we were quite limited in terms of what we could give her to help with her pain. And so that led us to researching and exploring what our options were, and we came across medicinal cannabis and got very interested in it, and I suppose it just sort of blossomed from there.
All right, well, thanks very much for your time, Leila da Costa.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
To support our award-winning independent journalism, subscribe to nbr.co.nz.